Lee Harvey Oswald et sa femme Marina ne vivent pas ensemble. Oswald vit à Beckley Avenue dans le quartier Oak Cliff de Dallas. Il loue une chambre à cet endroit pour y vivre du lundi au vendredi et se rapprocher de son lieu de travail, le Texas Book Depository, situé dans le centre de Dallas, à l'angle de Elm et de Houston Street. Marina Oswald et ses enfants vivent dans la maison de Ruth Penn à Irvine, à plusieurs kilomètres de Dallas. Oswald a l'habitude de passer le week-end à Irvine. Il se fait conduire en voiture par son collègue Buell Fraser du vendredi soir au lundi matin entre le Book Depository et Irvine. Le jeudi 21 novembre 1963, Oswald change ses habitudes. Il demande à Frazier de l'emmener en voiture à Irvine après le travail. Oswald explique à Frazier qu'il doit récupérer des tringles à rideaux à Irvine pour les ramener à Beckley. Selon la commission Warren, ce ne sont pas des tringles à rideaux que Oswald va récupérer à Irvine, mais son fusil Carcano enveloppé dans du papier craft.
Lee woke up early the next morning. Marina was still sleeping, and he kissed his children and told Marina goodbye.
Later, she found what he'd left on the bureau. It was $170, and she found something else. It was Lee's wedding ring.
When OswALd left the house, he was carrying an oblong package wrapped in brown paper.
About 7:10 a.m. in the morning, I was preparing lunches. I looked out the window and saw a man, whom I learned later was Mr. OswALd, crossing the street with a package approximately 2.5 feet long.
As we were getting in the car, I saw the package and I said, "What's the package, Lee?" And Lee said, "Curtain rods."
As usual, Wesley Frazier drives his car to a distant employee parking lot beside a railroad yard. A 4-block walk from the book depository's back entrance.
Lee got out of the car, took the package that he said contained curtain rods, and he put one end of the package in the cup of his hand and the other up under his armpit. He put the package under his arm that way, and he walked off toward take the school depository up on Elm Street.
OswALD's job, gathering books for shipment to Texas schools, gives him access to the building's 7 floors.
Mr. Vice President, Jim Wright, Governor, Senator Yarborough, Mr. Buck, ladies and gentlemen, there are no faint hearts in Fort Worth, and I appreciate
The Vice President and Texas Governor John Conley applaud President Kennedy's entrance as he returns to his hotel for a breakfast with the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce. The breakfast party awaits the arrival of Mrs. Kennedy.
myself in Paris by saying that I was the man who had accompanied Mrs. Kennedy to Paris. I'm getting somewhat that same sensation as I travel around Texas. I'll put it on in the White House on Monday. If you'll come up there, you'll have a chance to see it there.
Downtown Fort Worth was alive with cheering crowds when the presidential motorcade left the hotel for COurSE Air Force Base and the 30-mile trip by jet to Dallas. The president and Mrs. Kennedy rode in a convertible with Governor and Mrs. Conley. Although they were behind schedule, the president and Mrs. Kennedy once more went into the crowd to shake hands with scores of well-wishers. Handshakes that will be treasured by the lucky ones in the jubilant, cheering crowd.
The presidential jet leaves Fort Worth with a short flight to Dallas, where the president has a scheduled luncheon address.
There's Mrs. Kennedy, and the crowd yells, "And the President of the United States." I can't get over the fact that the President and his wife broke away from the planned trek to the automobiles and went all along this fence out here, right up to the fence, shaking hands and talking with these hundreds of people gathered inside that fenced-off area. It was a great thrill to them and a complete surprise. Now, as he becomes more visible down to this end, the people cheer. And here they come, right down toward us. I can see Mrs. Kennedy And they're going to come right on down and shake hands with everybody. Mrs. Kennedy gave a lovely smile and a wave at that time. But there is a fence, and the president waves goodbye, waits for his wife, and back they go to the car. Governor Conley standing in the car beaming. Mrs. Kennedy stepping in the car first. Now the president. They both in the back seat now. Will very shortly start to move out. Sheriff Bill Decker, Dallas County Sheriff, driving his own car, personally escorting it with the chief of police, the presidential car, moving out. The president and first lady. Big, beautiful Lincoln. Head out for downtown Dallas, where thousands should already be on the street right now, waiting for a view of the president and his wife.
Proper location, let's give it to you once again. It will go Mockingbird Lane to Lemon Avenue, then travel south on Lemon to Turtle Creek, Cedar Springs, through the downtown area on Harwood to Maine, west on Maine to Houston, through the Triple Underpass to Stemmons Freeway, then on to the Trade Mart.